What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And it's been a hectic day. As you can tell, it's towards the end of the day now, and we've been working on transmissions, getting those built. Mike's T5 is done. The TKO that split apart in the last video, that's almost done. We're actually adding fifth gear back to that. It was a race box that did not have fifth gear. We ordered all the essential parts to put fifth gear back in. Those are on the way. They should be here tomorrow, and that box will be way better with a fifth gear. So that's on its way. And now we are actually heading to the dyno to get the black car dynoed. You guys might remember from a few videos ago, it was bone stock. Now it has still stock fuel system, but it's got a 276 upper, full exhaust, off-road H, Flowmaster cap back. And we did the full tilt boogie kit on it, lowered it a little bit. But really, as far as performance modifications go, it's got a JLT high boost, a 276, and then the exhaust changes. So that's where we're heading now. We're gonna get some video footage on that, and then for the rest of the video, we'll be putting the T56, or I'm sorry, we'll be putting the TKO 600 or 500 or 35, whatever it is, the faceplated 3550 back into the 86, and we'll go drive that. So pretty exciting video. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe down below, and let's cut to the footage of being on the dyno. continuation of our last video, you saw us working on JC's 86. Dan has still been working on it all day today. Well, not necessarily all day, but he's been working on it today. We already had the engine bay wrapped up in the last video. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link above in the description. Dan, how's it going?
It's good now that everything's coming back together. We added a MSD tack adapter to hopefully get the factory tack to work, since JC wanted either a shift light or a tack, and we figured a tack would be trivial for the first step, and then if he wants to add a shift light now, we can easily do that with the tack adapter. So had to get up under the dash, find the right wires, wire that all in, get it all nice tucked out of the way so we don't kick it or anything like that. Everything's soldered and heat shrunk together. Should to finish soldering and heat shrinking one more wire in the engine bay, and it'll be good to go. And we're just waiting for trans parts so we can at least test everything out.
You excited to drive the faceplate transmission?
A little nervous, never done it before, but we'll give it a shot.
That wheel looks so much better.
Yeah, it does. It feels nice though. I was saying in the video, it felt like a little not very thick.
Right.
But it's still, like, overall feel of it is still.
Yeah, it's still thicker than a stock Fox body wheel.
Yeah, like compared to the Cobra, one of my Cobras.
Right. And the D&D one that we have upstairs is bigger than that by far too.
Yeah, that one's thicker. But I like this Alcantara suede.
Right. It'd be sweet to get the Cobra wheel wrapped in that.
Yeah, that'd be.
They charge like a fortune for that though.
Yeah, they do.
All right, so moving on to the majority of today's episode is going to be getting this car running. So today I'm ripping apart the TKO. And I want to show you guys what a faceplated transmission looks like inside. And I think I have some parts for comparison. I have a T5 that's waiting for parts also. So that'll give me the opportunity to show you guys the difference between a standard transmission and a faceplated transmission. And we're going to be diving into that in the next few minutes here. So I already got the inspection covers off. I found a couple leaks. There was no RTV on the shifter at all. However, there's not a lot of fluid that comes in through here or out through here. So it usually doesn't cause a major leak. But then this middle inspection cover, and it has oil all over the top here, was not sealed properly also. It was all leaking out of the back here. So this will all be scraped, cleaned, and re-RTV'd. So it's a sealed unit when it's all said and done. But we're gonna bust this off. You guys will see the main case, and that's where all the magic happens with the faceplated transmissions. Which I'm gonna use Mike Greco's broken T5 out of his 331 build that he broke on the way home when we finished it for him last week, or a few weeks ago. And then here is that faceplated TKO that is out of the 86 that we're working on right now. So this is just the internal. Obviously this is the main shaft. So everything pretty much located here. All the business is handled here. So it's first gear, reverse, second, third, and then fourth is on the input shaft, which is over there. And then this is the collar that is spline to go on to fourth gear. Kind of cool. So this is going to be the primary difference. These big, huge ears on here. That is the faceplate. If you see, here's your selector, and that has big dot rings. So when you shift into fourth gear, it's just engaging that gear. There's nothing in between these two to make that a smooth transition. We'll use third gear as a better example. It just goes in. In fact, they remove the springs and the shift keys that would normally assist in centering these selector hubs. So that's all gone. I mean, it's just super smooth, super easy to put into the next gear. And if you ever have any kind of lockout like that, all you gotta do is hold a little pressure on it, because as soon as it passes, it's gonna lock in. And then the teeth, if you notice, Liberty puts like a few degrees in both sides. So when it's under load, it's not gonna pop out, which is a primary issue with pro-shifted transmissions because they don't have that kind of stability. So kind of cool. That's how it works in every gear. This is the hub it's balanced on right now. Right in. Pretty neat. But pretty noisy because now when you're in gear, this slop that you get is all driveline slop. It's not locked together. So if you're on and off the pedal or just cruising through town and maybe your engine lugs at a certain RPM, it's gonna implement that, which is pretty annoying. Moving over to a synchronized transmission, some of the main differences you'll notice, obviously there's none of those teeth. That one's broken. But here's a synchro. And this job of the synchro is to speed up or slow down the next gear that you're going to be shifting into. So when you're pushing on the hub, it's going to close the clutch cone into the synchro, speed up the gear, and then allow you to fully shift onto those teeth. That does not exist over here. This is a hang on, grip it and rip it type synchronization. Get after it. So that's the primary difference. Some other differences that we noticed, this one is all micro polish, rem polish, Cairo treated, however you want to call it, all three of those things. That's why it's really shiny. You can see the counter shaft is super shiny. It's very smooth. It's really nice actually, where this one's not. This is all cast. You know, this is all stock stuff, but it's all cast or just ground. So that would be a huge upgrade too if you were purchasing it. One weird thing that this has that we didn't show you, this has a 5th gear delete, which all goes right here. So this bearing would come off. This whole, that's just a billet assembly to replace where normally 5th gear would go. So we're gonna call Liberty in the morning, order a 5th gear assembly that this is going to fit basically right here. And some other changes are made, like the shift shaft that normally controls 5th and reverse are on one shift shaft here, and this one's machined down, so you cannot put a 5th gear a 5th gear shift fork on it. So we have to get a new one of these. We gotta get a 5th gear. We gotta get everything, all the linkage that goes along with it, the gear itself, and obviously this main shaft gear is here. This is the 5th gear main shaft, but that's machined into it, so you can't get rid of that. But everything else is gone, so we gotta order all that and put it back into the new case, which will be here tomorrow. All right, so we will bring you more on the trans build process and driving the car. Hopefully tomorrow, probably not till the weekend, realistically, because you know our case gets here tomorrow, which will allow me to put the majority of this transmission together, but I'm not gonna be able to finish it until the 5th gear assembly stuff gets here. So unfortunately, we didn't get done fast enough to next day it from Liberty today. Hopefully, when I call and order it tomorrow, they can next day and get it here Friday. Because you can't have stuff sitting around. All right, so we just got done with the dyno pull session yesterday, and the stock Cobra put down some pretty healthy numbers, and it makes us a little discerning about Dan's car. Because on E85, Dan's car made like 500, which it's a blast to drive and everything's good about that. But now we go with the stock Cobra that just has a 276 upper, the JLT high boost intake, some exhaust modifications, and it made like 451, 435. Right? 445. So pretty much 450. And it's on 93 octane, less boost. So we're like, what? And a stock blower versus Dan's semi-ported blower. I would almost say it's not even ported, but I mean, it's just crazy. So now we're like, all right, well, we got to take the stock X pipe off of Dan's car. So that's gonna be our next dyno video that you guys will see coming up soon. We have a Bassani off-road X pipe that's gonna be going on Dan's car. We're gonna put that on, we're gonna go retune it, re-dyno it, see what we pick up by getting rid of the stock X pipe. It's gonna be very interesting because I think we might free up like, I don't know, like 30, 40 horsepower potentially based on what that car made versus the modifications that Dan's car has. So anyway, that was fun. The car made 450, 445. It's gonna be a blast on the street with the FTVR kit on it. It'll be a lot more fun to drive. So we're happy with the results on that. We're gonna wash it and get Bobby to come pick it up ASAP so we can move on to the rest of the cars. Dan is finishing up a rear end that we did. This is a solid rear axle for a Cobra that you guys have seen on the channel. The guy just kind of keeps it in his repertoire in case he wants to swap it in every now and then. But everything checked out good. The gear pattern on it was awful, so we redid the gear pattern. Hopefully it should be quieter, even though it made a ton of noise in the past. It's hard to get rid of the noise, but it should be a lot better. There's a little bit of excessive run out in the axle flanges, so he stopped running it. So we left it just kind of bolted together because Strange Engineering said that they'll take a look at them. So he'll be able to pull those out, go get them checked, make sure they're all good. Hey, Laura. Lottie. Working hard or hardly working?
She's at watch all the time.
Yep. Security, full time. All right, anyway, so that's that project. Now we have the faceplated TKO going back together, and we have all the components for 5th gear going back on. So we got the new shift shaft on here. The other one was machined in half, so it didn't do that anymore. I got the 5th gear components starting to go back together. New bronze shift pads. Got a couple small pins that were missing, and this thing should be wrapped up in the next hour or so, because I really just got to kind of slam it all together now. So pretty pumped about this. We'll show you guys the finished product once it's together. I have to check some shimming and stuff, and then you'll see the finished faceplated trans going back in the 86. All right, guys, so I got the TKO partially together. I already shimmed the counter shaft, so that's all good to go. The main shaft is in here. And these things just look so cool with the micro polish gears and everything. Looks sick. So this is all done. Now we got the 5th gear installed. Everything's back on for that. And now we're going to glue the top on, so you guys will no longer be able to see the inside, back, and then worry about shimming the main shaft. So we're just about to wrap this thing up, and I just want to show you guys what it looks like prior to finishing it, because it's pretty crazy. So we just finished up the TKO rebuild. Faceplated TKO is complete, ready to go. It's currently in 3rd gear. Everything works. 5th gear works, reverse works as it should. I cleaned up the bearing retainer, and everything is mint. A little bit too much RTV, but once it dries, I'll peel it off so it looks nicer. But otherwise, she is good to go. Now I can clean up the bench, get the car back in the air, and start putting it back together. We'll see how late we're here tonight, but probably first thing in the morning we'll fill it with oil. I'm gonna check the weather. Hopefully we could drive it and bring you guys some content driving this thing. That's gonna be the only reason I debate filling it tonight and driving it late tonight. This is for you guys, but it's really hard to get good footage at night, so that might just be, you know, not quite worth it. Anyway, we're gonna move on to getting this thing up in the air and installing it after lunch, so we'll be back in a second. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got the 86 up and running, and it drives great. We got a couple last things to do before he picks it up. We figured we'd take you guys for a ride now before it gets too late and we don't have time to record anything. So I want to show you guys what is cool about this transmission, and we just put the synchronized reverse back in. So the synchronized reverse is great. That operates like normal. We can finally cruise the car. The driveline angles are a lot smoother, and now that the front of the transmission isn't broken, the engine vibration is a lot less. So all of those are good things. But a faceplated transmission is no joke. So there's no synchronizers in between the gears changes. So you hear the noise. I'm literally just banging it into gear. So now we're in 2nd, which allows you to no lift shift it like that with ease, and it shifts super fast and super easy. But a lot of people complain about the faceplated transmission on the street, so I want to show you guys briefly how we've learned to drive it on the street without any issues. And a lot of it has to do with rev matching, dealing with a little bit of noise when you mess up, and double clutching when you really want it to be smooth. So first option is double clutch. You literally push in the clutch to take it out of gear, put it in neutral, push the clutch in again, and go into the next gear. Now you have to do it fast, otherwise you're going to hear it, just like you did there. So I'll give you guys a couple examples right at stoplight right now. All right, so first, oh, that went pretty smooth. If you guys saw earlier in the video or in the last video, I don't remember, but you'll see that these have just big, huge teeth that go together. So any noise you hear, a driveline slop, is literally just those huge forged teeth going against each other. So, all right, clutch, clutch, 2nd. Clutch, clutch, 3rd. And you really can't even tell. Now, if you get good or you're used to your car, even if you have a synchronized transmission, you can do this. You can shift the car without using the clutch at all. But what you have to do is you just have to nail the rev match. So that's another alternative with these, when we'll do that next. But downshifting, you have to rev match it, otherwise it's going to be noisy. And basically what a rev match is, if you're not aware, you're matching the engine speed to the next gear RPM that achieves the same mile an hour. So I'm going to drive it with no clutch. Which works really well also. Not a whole lot of noise. Now if you hop in one of these things and you drive it just like a normal stick shift car, you're going to make a ton of noise, and whoever's in the car with you is probably going to think you have no idea what you're doing. I'll show you what that sounds like here. Now if you guys did not watch the previous video, this is a 408 351 with a faceplated TKO, built 8.8, maximum motorsport suspension. What we did is we got the tachometer working, steering wheel change, that's what we did inside. We resealed the intake forward and back. That was leaking. The trans case was broken, so we rebuilt the trans, and then while we were in there, we put a 5th gear back in it, because a lot of these faceplated TKOs, they would delete 5th gear to get rid of rotational mass, which I have not noticed a difference in this vehicle. So you must be really searching for hundredths when that happens. So here's just driving it normal, thinking that it works. That's still okay, but you really got to shift it with authority, because if you are light into getting it into gear and it does not quite fully engage the teeth, it's pretty noisy. Personally, I think the double clutch is the smoothest, but I'm a fan of the no clutch at all, because here's a downshift no clutch, not bad. Upshift no clutch. So you hear the dog ears engaging, but that's about it. So that is how we've learned to drive the TKO on the street, faceplated. Does not bother us at all. The notch, if you guys are following along with the channel, the notch that we're building for myself is going to be a faceplated T56 Magnum, just like a lot of the fastest H-pattern cars are running. So you got to run that if you want to hang with them. But hopefully I can show you guys the benefits of having the faceplated transmission here in a second. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up the build on the 86. We're going to go back to the shop. We got to raise the ride height up in the back a little bit more still, and clearance the hood to clear the intake now that we lifted the back of the trans up to get better driveline angles. So there's a couple small things left. But
and shifted the K-member.
Yeah, and we shifted the K-member over. So we're going to get it all fixed up so JC can take it home and call this thing a wrap.
Yeah, buddy.
Alright guys, I love delivery days. It is Saturday. You guys saw we just finished driving the 86. Now I'm driving the black stock Cobra. That's no longer stock. You can see the boost overlay. She's making some boost now. And heading back to the shop. We're getting ready to deliver JC his 86. And Bobby's on his way to pick up this car. I gotta stop and wash this one. It's filthy. It was dirty when we picked it up, and it's filthier now because it's been outside of John's house and gets dusty in the shop. So I'm gonna give this thing a bath. But we probably picked up about 100 horsepower at the tire with this car, and it drives awesome. It's really, really good. I'm happy with it. It made like 460 horsepower, 445 foot-pounds of torque. I'm sorry, 450 horsepower, 445 foot-pounds of torque. The FTBR kit is working as it should. Everything's really, really good on it. Unfortunately, since I'm driving it by myself, you know, unlike the 86, I can't really show you how hard it's pulling. I'll try. We got an M3, so if I drop you guys, it's for good reason. Going into forest, but I was holding the camera while driving, so added to the difficulty. Yes! Sweet, that was fun. Okay, cool. Anyway, we're gonna go to the shop, wash this thing up, pulls like a champ, and give you guys a wrap-up video on it real quick. Just walk around what we did, what kind of performance gains we got. Man, I'm so glad that that just happened. That was sick.